Good evening, London. Allow me first to apologize for this interruption. I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of the everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility of the repetition. I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in the spirit of commemoration, whereby those important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought that we could mark this. Well, not the 5th of November, but maybe the dawn of pre-World War III. A day that is going to probably longly be remembered by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. I suspect, even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to the meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression, and where you once had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are responsible, more responsible than others, and they will all be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into the mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic, you turned to the now High Chancellor and King Donald Trump. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent. Last night I sought to end that silence. Kind of coping with the fact that all three of us randomly decided to watch V for Vendetta last night and finish the movie to find that we're on the brink of World War III. So, kind of, well, let's just introduce ourselves. I'm Dana, joined here by my little sister Michelle.
Hey.
And my big brother Dave.
Hello.
And so Dave wanted to watch V for Vendetta, the documentary, and discuss how it might relate to things going on in the world today. And kind of ironic that this has happened this week. It's been telegraphed, but I think there's a lot to talk about. So, Dave, why don't you just kick us off with the discussion?
Okay, well, before we get to that, I've got some news items that I'd like to talk about. And I have not one, not two, but three news items. And the third will make you very happy and bring a little bit of lightness to your Sunday afternoon. And we're going to be able to do Dave's news desk today.
Hang on to your hats, because we're forecasting cloudy with a chance of chaos. It's top stories from Dave's news desk.
All right, Dave, take it away.
All right. Okay, so we have family in Florida. I have a news item out of Florida. So, Dana, I think this news will also make you very happy. Governor DeSantis has just signed Florida House Bill 351, which goes into effect on July 1st of this year. They are criminalizing excessive speeding. So instead of it being just an infraction, they have what they call dangerous excessive speeding, which is defined as either going over 50 above the posted limit or driving over 100 miles per hour in a way that will put other people or property at risk of damage. So your first offense, you get either 30 days in jail, a $500 fine, or both. If you get a second offense, it will be 90 days in jail, a $1,000 fine, or both. If you get two offenses within a 5-year period, you lose your license for at least 6 months, but no more than 1 year. So this this law goes into effect in what, a little over a week. So I just think anybody, be careful out there, guys. Drive safe.
Excellent.
Who's going 50
So-
miles an hour over this posted speed limit?
You live in Massachusetts and you're
I know.
asking that question.
That's ironic.
That's so high.
It's ironic. I mean, wow, so many coincidences happening. Although Viva would say there are no coincidences. But I had a reckless driving incident occur yesterday when I was on the road, and there was construction going on, and I was the first in line. Actually, it wasn't construction. Excuse me. There was a car accident. There was a 3-car accident on a road, and the police officer, I was the first in line. He stopped me so that the oncoming traffic could go, and there was like a 3-way intersection. So there's no street to the right, but there is a street to our left. So he was letting the oncoming traffic go, and then so that lasted however many minutes. Mm-hmm. And then he starts waving on the side street to come out. And while he's doing that, the lady behind me gets impatient and just starts speeding around me. And I honk at her, and she looks at me like there's something wrong with me. And I'm like pointing at the cop, and the cop's like throwing his arms up in the air, like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right, yeah.
Screaming at her. She almost got in a head-on collision with the cars that he was trying to let out. I mean, people are just so like
We're impatient. That's what it is.
reckless, and yeah, I love this. I love this, Dave. You're right. This makes me very happy. I need, like, you have
Dana's
to
moving
understand.
to Florida.
I call myself a lefty because I am very like progressive and stuff. And in many ways I'm also kind of like libertarian, like live and let live, let people have their freedoms and rights, unless it picks your pocket or it breaks your arm. So when your actions are putting other people at risk, then you need to be punished for it. So I'm all in favor of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you would be. So that was news item number 1. News item number 2 really isn't news. It's just a rumor that, I messaged you guys about on Friday. I was doing my usual doom scroll through Facebook, and Newsweek actually posted a rumor that Connor McDavid, one of the stars of the Edmonton Oilers, may potentially sign with the Bruins. So I asked Meta AI, what are the chances that Connor McDavid will sign with Boston? According to Meta AI, he already has. He signed for 8 years, $104 million. So don't believe everything you hear. And I thought it was funny because one of the commenters on the Newsweek article had the perfect take on it. He said something like, the rumor is we're going to sign Connor McDavid, but the Bruins front office is going to say that the actual deal is we traded Pasternak for, 3 7th-round draft picks and a bag of chips, which is pretty much what I would expect out of Neely and Sweeney at this point. So I don't know how I would feel about him coming to the Bees. I mean, he's a great player.
You don't know how you would feel about one of the best players in the NHL coming to the Bees? Are you kidding me?
How good is it going to be though if we don't have a good team around him?
That's true. I don't know. Like I said to you in our personal message, I just think, they'd have a risk of screwing it up just like they did with Tyler Seguin. So
yeah,
I mean, they royally messed that up. And speaking of AI, I just want to say, and it's not completely inaccurate. I was a little nervous after Israel started bombing Iran. I was a little concerned that we were on the brink of World War III, and I asked the AI, what are the chances of us getting into World War III? And it said the chances are extremely low, unless the U.S. decides they want to start bombing Iran too. And here we are. So
I never talk to AI. I don't know
AI
what you guys
isn't
are
always
doing.
wrong. I mean, the AI kind of knows. I mean, it definitely. I don't know.
I have never once asked AI a question ever.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I Google stuff and you get the AI version, and I scroll past that and look at whatever comes after that. I never ask AI questions. Is there an app for that?
There's a bunch of different apps.
There's
you
a
can use
bunch
Grok.
of different. Yeah.
Basically every social media platform has their own AI you can use.
Yeah, I don't.
And
like
then
it. I don't
there's
use
the
it.
individual. You can, if you wanted to use ChatGPT, there's different ways. Although a lot of the apps you would use just have ChatGPT integrated into it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. All right, Dave. What's number 3?
Number 3. There is a special limited time engagement happening. So mark your calendars, bitches, because your big bro's coming home to visit for a special 3-day event.
When is this?
What? What do you mean?
August. So I'm flying home August 27th. I'm coming back the 30th. Extreme. Do you guys? You probably Michelle doesn't remember Extreme.
I
I'm
do.
sure
I
Dana-
saw that you were going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Extreme.
yeah,
More
yeah,
than
yeah,
words.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
There's a hole in my. Is that what we're talking about?
Wait, are we talking
Yes.
about Extreme like More Than Words?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Not
okay.
Extreme. Yes.
I saw
They are
that you
actually.
were going there.
They're playing in New Hampshire, so I texted my friends Tim and April, who I have not seen in way too long, and I said, "Hey, if I got tickets, would you guys go?" And they were like, "Sure." So here we are. I fly home on the 27th. Concerts on the 28th. I figure I'll hang around down back home area like the 29th, and then one of you can take me to the airport on the 30th.
Okay. Are you staying with me on one of those nights or no? Are you in
to,
New Hampshire?
to be
for-
determined.
Okay,
Well, I'd be in
okay.
New Hampshire for the 28th definitely because
Right.
it's at the Hampton Casino Ballroom is where the show is. So, and
What
it's one, it's a band I've never seen. I've always liked them. I went to high school with their
Oh, and that's a
guitarist
Friday.
cousin. So,
The 29th is a Friday.
the 29th is a Friday, but the concert's on the 28th, which is a Thursday. So,
Okay.
yeah. So if that doesn't brighten your day,
It
I don't know what will.
does.
We might have to arrange.
Of
we might have
course.
to arrange the birthday parties
of course,
and celebrate them a couple weeks early.
Oh, that's a good idea.
who knows? We might be in the middle of World War III, and I may not actually make it out there, but
This is
let's be
true.
optimistic.
I was just gonna say, let's try to remain positive because I just can't. I can't live in sadness and
I was-
anxiety.
Desperately trying not to. It's just so hard.
So,
It's so hard.
yay! Dave's coming home.
Just a quick visit.
Yay! Well, maybe we can plan something that Friday night so
Well, the
that
last-
the
the
fam
last-
can come over and.
The last quick visit, David was here for like a month, so
Well, I mean, those were different circumstances.
Yes.
that's
you know,
true.
Very different.
That's true.
All right, so let's
Okay.
talk about the topic du jour today. So I'll just kick us off. I'll kick us off. I liked the movie better on a rewatch than I did the first time around. Maybe it was just because I wasn't in the right mental space when I first saw it. There's some things that I think are very relevant and true to life. I think kind of a both and, like the media portrayal of how the media is constantly lying to people. I think that's very true to life. But what I think was not accurate is in the movie, everybody watching knows that the media is full of crap. And I think in the real world, as long as people are hearing what they already believe, they are more than happy to never
believe
question
it.
it.
Yeah.
So
Or
those are my initial thoughts. And go ahead, Dana.
or they morph their beliefs to believe what they're hearing in the moment. So even though, like, for example, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, everyone was saying we don't want to be involved in a war. We don't want to get into another endless war. Trump himself was saying we don't want to get into a war. And now here we are today, a couple weeks later, and half the people that are following mainstream media are cheering it on. The mainstream media themselves are cheering it on. So it's people will often shift their beliefs to conform to what they think they're supposed to believe, and
Yeah.
it's a little disappointing.
So, our vice president was making the morning rounds on all the Sunday news shows today. And before logging on to this, I was watching one of the interviews he gave where he was asked directly, like, are we at war with Iran? And he's like, no, we're not at war with Iran. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm pretty sure when you start dropping bombs on another country, that's an act of war. I don't know what else you call it. I think the administration is taking the stance of, what he said was Russia, China, and the U.S. The only thing that all three nations agree on is that they don't want nuclear weapons, like an arms race in the Middle East. So he's saying, because you got Dmitry Medvedev out of the Kremlin saying, like, outright saying, we're going to supply Iran with the materials necessary to build a nuclear weapon. He posted that on X or whatever. I don't know if they use X over there, whatever social media website is. And Vance is saying, well, that might be what he's saying, but we know just from talks that we've had with the Russians that they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon either. I don't know how true that is. I guess time will tell.
I'll be honest, I don't think this is about nuclear weapons at all. I think they're using it as a placeholder because they want to actually just do a regime change. I don't think this is. I think the nuclear weapon thing is an easy go for them, even though all of our own intel says that they're not even close to a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, we've heard this crap before.
Well, let's just be honest about it. For the past 30 years, Netanyahu's been telling us that Iran is days
2 weeks away.
2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. He's been saying it for 30 years. And then our own intel, back in March, Tulsi Gabbard said they are nowhere near close to having a nuclear weapon. They are years away, and they're not even pursuing a nuclear weapon. And she said they haven't tried to pursue a nuclear weapon since the early 2000s when they abandoned the nuclear weapons project. It's all for civilian enrichment, for energy. It's not for what they were doing was not for nuclear weapons. Now, that doesn't mean that's what our intel is saying. The intel that we got that they are close to a nuclear weapon, guess where that came from? So I guess, we're abandoning America first, and we're going to another country first, and supporting a foreign agency, a foreign country, over our own interests. I don't understand why we're doing this, and it's nothing to do with nuclear. I don't think. I think it's 100% regime change in Iran, and we've learned nothing. We've learned nothing from the last 30, 40 years of wars. And how ironic is it that it's Iran, where the first time back in the 70s, we stuck our nose in to Iran, we had serious blowback, and it blew up in our faces. And here we are doing it all over again.
Is that the movie? Is that the movie Argo's based on? Wasn't that Iran too? Am I mixing up countries? Did you guys ever see that? Argo?
I don't remember.
I didn't see Argo.
It might have been Argo.
It was probably Argo. It was probably about Iran.
With Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Good.
Yeah. And we had people over there, and they were hiding under floorboards, and the Canadians were helping keep them safe and stuff. I just watched it. That's why it's fresh in my head, because I just watched it recently.
It actually goes back to the 50s, because we had the Shah of Iran, who was, very friendly and cooperative with the U.S. and the West in general, and we had him helped overthrow him. And that's what led to the revolution in the 70s. And so we're always sticking our noses in somewhere in that corner of the world, especially, it seems like. And I'm totally against it. Like, I'm hearing, across social media, I'm hearing people say like, oh, you need to have more faith in our military. And it's like, it's not about faith in our military. It's not about winning a shooting war. It's about what happens afterwards. That's the fucking lesson that the government never wants to understand, is that we go for what supposedly is in our national interest, but then it ends up creating more of a problem, in the form of radicalization and terrorism. And, I'm watching all our government, leadership say like, oh, well, and conservative commentators saying, well, now we can rest easy at night because Iran doesn't have access to a nuclear weapon. And it's like, they have sleeper cells all over the world, including here. Congratulations.
And you just woke the beast that was dormant for however long.
Yeah. And you know how you know that? Because the mayor in New York and Karen Bass in LA were posted today that they have increased security at religious sites and cultural sites around their cities, which to me is a tacit acknowledgement of, yes, we have a lot of undocumented people here that are not good actors, and they're not here in good faith, and leadership knows it. Because otherwise, why would something that happened on the other side of the world cause so much anxiety in our local cities? Because we know there will be some type of response there. Yeah,
we've been through it before. We never learn. It's extremely disappointing.
And we've been building up for this for months. We've been sending military assets over there, slowly building up, sending jets, aircraft carriers for the last 3 or 4 months. Yeah. So,
like I said, it was telegraphed.
The writing was on the wall. Yeah.
I'm disheartened because you guys know. The audience that follows us know I am not a Trump supporter in the least. I don't think he's a good president. I think he's at this point now. I really, at whatever level of intelligence I thought he has, it's a lot lower than I actually even thought. But one thing I did hang my hat on after he got elected this time was I thought, okay, well, maybe he will make good on his promise. No new wars. He won't drag us into any new wars. That was like the one thing I was hanging my hat on with this, and that blew up in our face. So here we are, heading on the verge of World War III. And what happens when you go into war with countries that are major oil suppliers for around the world? Everything that he promised in the campaign is about to blow up in all of our faces. Because here we are on the brink of World War III. Here we are on the brink of war with a country that supplies a large percentage of the world's oil. So oil prices are going to go skyrocket. So I hope you enjoy paying $8 a gallon for gas, which means all those groceries that you've been complaining about for 2 years from the prices, those are about to skyrocket as well. Everything is about to get way more expensive for everybody. The living conditions are about to get way worse, all because I don't know why. I don't know.
Well, that's
like
it
I
right
said,
there,
I had
right?
hope.
We don't know why.
Literally,
Like-
Donald Trump.
No, we do
think
know why.
A
certain section of people is getting very, very rich.
That's true.
why.
That's
That's
true.
what war does. It takes
It's money.
It takes money from regular people and it funnels it to a very certain select few. Like that. It really is that simple. There's money to be made. You know, in spending the blood of however many people. There are some folks out there that are perfectly happy to do that and will take that cash. They don't. I personally, as libertarian as I am, I wish I could be dictator, like absolute dictator for like a couple days just to put some definite laws into effect. The first one would be anybody in government that is supportive of actions like this, they need to send their children and their grandchildren to the front line. Everybody in their family needs to go and fight. Like, if you feel so strongly about it, you need to put your own ass on the line. Oh, and by the way, if you're between the ages of 18 and 60 of fighting age, man or woman, and you're a lawmaker that's all about this, your ass needs to go over there too. That's the way I look at it. The thing that pisses me off the most about all of this is, like, regardless of what happens with Iran, the Ayatollahs, they're going to be fine. They're maybe, if there's a regime change, their own people might do something to them. But if it's just like the way wars usually go, they'll be like, they're not, all this bombing isn't going to hurt them. Sanctions aren't going to hurt them. They're always going to be living whatever comfort level life they have. It's the regular, ordinary people that are going to suffer. It's always the regular people that bear the brunt of what's going on. That's why I'm against it.
And all it does is reinforce what they say about us. It reinforces to them that we're not good actors in the world, and we're not trustworthy, and we're the bully, and we're the violent ones, and we hate them. It all it does is reinforce what they're told and all that propaganda they're fed. It reinforces that about us, and it's like just infuriating.
But it's not just propaganda, though. I mean, we're
obviously
we're
not
dropping bombs all over the place.
No, actually, we're the ones with the propaganda. Like, all I've heard for the past 2 weeks is how the Ayatollah chants "Death to America, Death to America." No one's in Iran has chanted "Death to America" since what's his face back in the early 2000s when he was president of Iran. What was his name? I can't even think of his. Like, I went back, I looked. I have not seen one Ayatollah chant or try to lead chants or even say "Death to America." I've seen them make threats against America if we intervene and help other countries and do stuff against them, but not one comment have I seen "Death to America" from them. It's this propaganda line that they feed us to make us think that they are the other, they are the enemy of us, and we have to destroy them all. It's infuriating, and I don't know. I feel so hopeless and helpless right now because, like I said, we're making the same mistakes all over again. It's it's really disheartening. It's really disheartening. And, I'm trying to shield the kids from it, right? And the kids were all upset about it last night. And because the kids are all teenagers now, they're more informed about this stuff than we were when we were younger because they have the access to it at their fingertips.
I was just going to say, yeah. It's
so the first
literally
question,
in their
so
hands.
the first question from Hunter was is there going to be a draft? Because he's about to be 18. You know what I mean? Now I have my kids have anxiety about, and why is he asking that question? Because he knows at the not something I've ever said to him about it. He just knows that the recruitment numbers from the military has been down every single year for the past 10 years. Just keeps on going down, down, down. It's going to get to a point where they have no choice but to do a draft. And so, like, I have to watch my kid have massive anxiety over, am I going to get drafted and be sent over to fight in a war that we don't believe in? You know what I mean? Like, and then I have, like, my youngest son all nervous, like, does that mean they're going to do stuff to us over here? Like, understanding, is it going to be like 9/11 all over again? Like this is like nonsense. This is stuff I thought we were way past and we'd never have to worry about again. And that's why I'm upset with Trump right now, because I thought that was the one thing that we could hang our hat on, is that I thought if there was someone that could make a deal and keep us out of this mess, I thought it actually would be him. That's the credit I would have given him. And now I think he's easily manipulated by other people in the world and probably other people in the military industrial complex, and not as smart as I gave him credit for.
Did you guys watch his press conference last night? It was on at like 10.
It was like 4 minutes long.
Yeah, it was very I thought it was short. I thought he was going to go on a lot longer. Did you guys think that the people, I know, like, the vice president, there were 2 other people to the
Marco
side.
Rubio
Yes.
and Pete Hegseth.
Do you think that they look supportive?
Marco Rubio,
and-
I almost sent a photo of it to you guys, but I figured Shelley was done with the political talk. But I was going to say, like, Marco Rubio always, every time I see him, he has a look on his face that says, what the fuck have I gotten myself into?
Seriously,
I thought J.D. Vance was the least interested in trying to be a part of it. I think he's the one that's distancing himself.
Did you notice he didn't have a red tie on?
Yeah. Yeah,
which I thought was funny because the other ones did. But
I'll give him credit. He's been against this since the beginning.
They all just looked really uncomfortable. They looked all really uncomfortable.
Well, he's fallen in line. It's just like Tulsi Gabbard fell in line trying to say that the media manipulated her words from the hearing, and that her intel does say that they had nuclear weapons. Like, I mean, give me a break. We've been through this before. We literally did this in Iraq, and we're doing it all over again, And I'm sick. I look on Facebook and I see people cheering for it. I see our family and friends cheering for it. And I'm like, why are we cheering on us potentially getting ourselves involved in World War III? I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so, too.
I hope we don't.
We keep saying we're on the verge, we're on the brink.
I hope we're not going into World War III. I just don't see any other path. Because I don't, if Donald Trump seriously thinks they're going to negotiate peace with us now, he's gravely mistaken. I can't. I mean, and if he honestly believes that, then he's a complete moron. If you are going to do that and think they're not going to retaliate against us, and then they're going to retaliate, and then we're going to have no choice, and now we're in full blown war. And we've left our troops over there, and Iran's already pointed it out, spread out, perfectly exposed, just waiting to be attacked. And it's almost like, did they do that on purpose? Did they purposely do that? Did our government purposely leave our troops over there exposed so that they could easily get attacked by another country so that we get pulled into war? I have to wonder. But it got me thinking about. I don't know why we're so eager to jump into another war. We just got over 2 of them that lasted way longer than they were supposed to. And no one agreed with them by the end. No one thought they were a good idea at the end. And here we are jumping into another one. Back to V for Vendetta.
It was very funny that we picked this topic this week, like this movie this week.
I can't believe it.
That is.
As soon as we turned it off, and then I popped over to the news and saw it, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Well,
and then within seconds of that, David texted me.
I only knew something was up because we had just finished. Dave sent that text, and then you sent it, and I was like, something is happening. I'm like, we have to look up something. Something is going on. And I said, oh, that's like ironic that we just finished this movie. Yeah. As this is happening.
Yep. Crazy.
But, yeah. At first, so we're going to talk about the movie for a second. Let's switch back. Okay, so when it first came on and it was a black and white, I think is it a WB symbol or a...
BTN?
Maybe no. There's whatever the
Oh, the Warner Brothers symbol.
Warner Brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was in black and white. I'm like, is this movie in black and white? I'm like, I'm not watching it. I'm out. Mike's like, no, it's not. It's not in black and white. It's like, I'm not watching this movie if it's in black and white. That was my initial thought because I have never seen this movie. This was my first time through. So that's my initial thought.
What did you think of the movie, Shell?
I liked it. I would definitely rewatch it.
So it's rewatchable.
I would say it's rewatchable. Yeah, I think it's one of those movies where I would probably catch something the second time that I didn't catch the first time.
It is definitely one of those movies.
Because you just get a lot of information. I thought it was obviously relevant, and I don't know if that's just because they talk about St. Mary's and the vaccine, and I was like, oh,
Crazy.
that's like very COVID like, and I thought it was very just very very relevant. And then there's a line that V says that there is this leader that has no concern for political process. And I was like, I looked over at Mike and I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because at work, immigration has become a very big topic because it's affecting our workforce, and we're taking people that are paying taxes and have proper work authorization cards through next year, and we're sending them out of the country when there was no political process. I was like, oh my god, I can't even believe that he just said that, and this is literally what I've been living for the last month or so at work. It's crazy. So yeah, I liked it. I did like it.
What'd you think of the I don't know, some of the tactics, I suppose?
Well, I wrote down because he said violence can be used for good, and I wanted to throw that question out to you. Do you guys think violence can be used for good?
I'm a pacifist, so I'm always anti-violence, honestly. So I love this movie. Like I said, you guys know it's my favorite movie. Mm-hmm. That said, I've always kind of disagreed with violence as being the answer. Mm-hmm. So when the government does call him a terrorist, I don't think they're wrong. I mean, they're actually kind of right. And by the definition, he is a terrorist, and that's what terrorists do. They use violence to make a political statement. Mm-hmm. That's literally the definition of terrorism, and that's what he is. His cause is just and worthy, the actual cause he's fighting for, but the means, I completely disagree with his means of doing it.
Yeah,
and I
he's
think,
legit killing people.
It's kind of intentional. I mean, the whole thing is he's not a hero. He's kind of an anti-hero, and it's kind of intentional. So that's always been my take on it. You're not supposed to think he's this righteous hero.
Right.
That's not the way I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
But he is this person that's trying to point out something that's severely, severely wrong with the culture they're living in, the society they're living in, and the government that's ruling over them.
Dave, what do you think? Can violence be used for good? It's a tricky question.
It is a tricky question. I think sometimes you have no choice. I don't think it should ever be the first option. I think there are times where it's justified.
So not good or bad, but justified.
Yeah, although I tend to lean towards it more bad, because I think, especially when it comes to political violence, people can rationalize any act that they want to by claiming some sort of morality. We see it in LA with the riots, people throwing chunks of concrete at cops, people setting Waymos on fire, and saying that's somehow justified because they're standing up for justice. And it's well, if you felt so strongly about it, why don't you set your own car on fire? You know what I mean? Oh, you're not going to do that. One, because, you're a lefty and you don't believe in capitalism, so you have no money and no possessions. And two, because you're just totally full of shit. You're not trying to stand up for anything. You're just trying to cause chaos. So anyway, I'm getting a little off track with that, but
which is part of the movie, right? Is causing chaos. That's what he wanted at the end,
I mean,
Sorry,
so I
go
guess
ahead.
that's the other thing. The other follow-on question to that is like, can chaos be used for good? I don't know that I don't know that I believe that.
I've never
I,
believed
But
it.
the
I
opposite
don't.
end, order can also be used, obviously, to oppress people. But chaos can be as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a movie that definitely makes you think. Yeah.
Did you watch it and see like, oh, this I see why this is Dana's favorite
I
movie?
did. I did. I absolutely did see why this is your favorite movie. I'm trying to think if I wrote anything else. Oh, and then the only other thing I wrote I wrote down was when you get into V's house and you see all those books. And I was like, this is Dave's dream, is to wake up in a room full of books from floor to ceiling.
The Shadow Gallery, which
Yeah.
we're staying in today.
I know, I saw. So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely would be nice to have that many books. Just, I'd never leave. I'd never leave.
Yeah.
You guys have any quotes from it that you found? One of my favorite quotes from that movie is artists use lies to tell the truth, while
yeah.
politicians use lies to cover it up.
Yeah. I wrote down the ones that that no concern for political process and violence can be used for good, because I thought that was a very bold statement to say. So those were the quotes I wrote down.
How about the spin? Did you notice the spin, like from the news network and stuff? Like after he bombs the Old Bailey,
Oh, yeah.
blows up the Old
Oh,
Bailey.
yeah.
The next day on the news, oh, planned demolition.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I like when she's like, "Oh, she's lying," and he's like, "How can you tell?" And she's like, "Cause she blinks a lot when she knows that a
Story
story
isn't
isn't true." It's just like another thing that like we all have our tells, right? Like, you know what I mean? Even if you're being paid to say something or whatever, everyone has a tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. We're all like you. I don't know if anyone can feel the anxiety and the tension and the just cloud that's over the three of our heads right now.
I think it's a combination of what happened
like,
and then us watching this movie. Dave, did you watch it on Thursday too?
No, I
And
watched it last night.
Oh, you
Yesterday
did. Okay.
afternoon.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
funny that we all decided to watch
Yeah.
it at the same time.
I was gonna say I wanted it fresh, so that's why I watched it last
Yeah,
night.
that's why I watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anything for you, Dave, that stuck out? Quotes or anything?
One of the things that really stuck out is when we're first introduced to V, when he meets
Evie.
Evie.
and I'm like, man, this guy will not shut up. Like he just like kept going on and on and on, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope. I'm like, for some reason, even though I'd seen the movie before, I'm like, maybe this is why I didn't like it, because I thought he just kept talking all the time, but then it stopped,
Yeah.
and he was, yeah. I mean, that stuck out. Mainly just the media stuff is what really
Yeah.
stuck out to me of peddling the lies, and everybody kind of knowing that it's just a bunch of crap and you just go along with it.
And you just keep shoveling it. Yeah, I wrote down media is compromised because it is.
Also,
It was then and it is now.
the other thing it points out is like who's really in power. When you have that political structure, who is the one that's really in power? When you think about Creedy and his black bags and the
Yeah.
chancellor, and it's ultimately, Creedy that has the chancellor killed, basically. Like, it makes you call into question, when you're under that structure, who is the one that's really pulling all the strings?
Well, I think it's in circumstances like that, I think it kind of grows beyond any one person, right? And everybody just kind of goes along with whatever system was put into place and will use it to their advantage whenever they can. Which is what happened in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
What'd you think about V posing as like one of Creedy's men and taking Evie away and subjecting her to simulated torture and stuff?
I didn't love it, but I got, like, I know the why. Like, it did free her, but I would have been pissed. I like, how dare you make that decision for me? I don't know. I was like, that was rude of him. But I also, when they were, and when he was like, oh, you just have to give them one thing, just give them one thing. And she was like, no, I'm not gonna. I was like, oh, I'm like, he sounds softer than like some of these other, secret police.
I'd rather die out in the back, right? Like
Yes, yeah. And like, and then he was like, okay, you're free.
Yep.
And I was like, what's happening? I was like, I'm like, why would they kill her? If she really is the only one that knows where V is, why would they kill her? I'm like, they would just keep torturing and torturing and torturing her. So it didn't make sense. And then when when she walks out and I was like, oh, I'm like, she's at V's house. And it like clicked after. Because I was like, why are they going to kill her if she really is the only one that knows where he could be?
Side note: V somehow in the middle of a dystopian dictatorship future is somehow able to make a tremendously vast and spectacular bachelor pad.
I know. Well, he had 10 years, right? He said it took 10 years to do
With
the
a full,
train and all
with
that.
with a full recreation of his own prison cell that he once sat in.
You know what I
Yeah.
want is whatever that breakfast was that he was making.
In the
It
basket.
looked like bread with egg. Yeah, I want that.
I've made that for the
sounded
kids.
good.
I've made that for the kids before, and I never would have ever made it for them had I not
Yeah,
seen it in that movie.
yeah, I like it. I said it this morning. I said, oh, I'm like, we should have made that egg sandwich bread thing that V made. I said, it looks so good. And Mike's like, just cut a hole in some bread and slather it in butter.
And grill it.
I'm like,
with the egg
real
inside.
butter. Yeah. You know me. Love food.
The one thing that did bother me about the movie, what I thought was a pretty big plot hole, was Evie is known to the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because he used her ID badge to get in to kill what's his face, and then she just goes back to her life. Like, I know she had that throwaway line of like, "Oh, I just had a fake ID," but it's like she's just going back to society and living normally after all of that. Like,
Yeah.
after it just, I don't know. It
Well,
seemed like
I
a pretty big hole to me.
I think when she says, I ran into someone I used to work with, I dropped my, what is it, cash or
Because she
or
shaved her head.
whatever.
Come on.
And
come
then
on.
she said,
I
like,
mean,
she
I
didn't.
know.
No,
yeah.
hold on. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think it just proves that we're all very selfish and that we don't really see the people that
people.
are around us. Like, you just pick up, yep, here you go. And you don't, like, we're all living in our own. That was how I took that.
Her fellow citizens, fine, but I'm saying like the actual government was
Oh,
searching for
yes,
her. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's
Right,
like
right.
she just goes back to her life, whether she has a different name and ID or not, and they can't figure out
That
that
it's her.
she's the person that they're looking for.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
a government that
to be fair,
oppresses
the
and
inspectors
controls every other.
to be fair, the inspector sat with V for a good 10, 15 minutes being told the story and not realizing he was talking to V the entire time. So we're not exactly dealing with the smartest of inspectors in the government.
True enough.
That is true. Too good. You know what made me sad was the little girl. The little girl that got shot.
Oh.
Yeah.
That made me sad. Again, that was the chaos he wanted, but that made me sad. I was like, no. And then at the end when they show her face, I was like, maybe she's not dead. And Mike's like, no, they're like showing that like we're all V. I'm like, oh, like I was hoping that maybe that was like in the future. If I was hoping that didn't actually happen. Mike's like, no, it happened.
It was symbolism. That's
Yeah.
all it was. It was symbolism.
Yeah.
I know. Valerie's story always gets me when they do Valerie's story.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
That one got me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we just wrap this up now? We're all so down.
Well, so going back to the elephant in the room, I mean, on my social media, pretty much uniformly what I'm seeing is everybody's against it. What are you guys seeing and hearing on your feeds?
I have unfollowed a lot of people that were posting a lot of political things. So honestly, I have not seen much because I just didn't want to see it. I don't like
Yeah.
so I'm still friends with people, but I have unfollowed what
Yeah.
people post and stuff. So honestly, cuz I looked, I was like, okay, what are people saying? But I don't see anything. So
A lot of people in favor of it.
I
Sadly.
just saw your post, Dana. I assume that is about that.
Yep.
And I saw some comments, but that's all I've seen really.
Coincidentally, in
Yeah.
favor of it.
Yeah.
They were,
So
I mean, it's upsetting.
yeah.
And you look at the news comments in the news articles, like our Boston 25 News, and you look at all the comments, and it's like 90% in favor of it, cheering it on, like about time, stuff like that. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I just
So that makes me, I'm a big believer in the dead internet theory. So how many of those rah, rah, rah about time comments are just bots?
True. We don't
yeah,
know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, fits with the movie
But
we just
seeing-
watched. How much of
Right.
this is a
Seeing the
government? Like,
reaction of the people in my life that are like MAGA people that are in favor of it, I don't think it matters. I think that
how do you know they're not AI? I mean, sometimes I think even though I'm on a video with you two, that you're just AI images that have been created to make me think I'm doing a podcast. You know what? At this point, I wouldn't rule out the possibility. I'm just saying.
I have a kind of an interesting take. I mean, you guys have read the Bible at some point in your life, right?
Okay, here we go. I was wondering if we're going to get. No. I'm happy to have this conversation right now because I wanted to talk about.
All I
being
was
a
just going
Christian-
to say is some of this is very biblical. I remember Mom always saying, like, you'll know it's end times when Israel is, like, a main focus. Like, she used to say it all the time. And I used to be like, why are you saying all that?
The problem
But
with that is it's
a-
forced. It's being forced.
I'm just
In
saying
other
it's
words,
just very
we have
interesting
people
that
in
some of the
power.
things that are happening. That's
We
all.
have people in power that aren't shy, like senators, representatives. We have people in power that aren't shy about saying that they're actively trying to get us to that point, to that biblical point of Armageddon, that they want to get us to that point. Like they think it's their goal as a Christian. It's like their duty to bring us closer to the second coming of Jesus by getting us involved in something like that. And I would contend that people misinterpret a lot of the Christian religion. I mean, I grew up. You guys know me. I'm an atheist. I'm a staunch atheist. I'm in the camp of I don't believe there is a God. I don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. And early on in my atheism, I often questioned whether Jesus was even really a person. But I did grow up in the church. I read the Bible countless times. We grew up Christian. Mom was a super devout Christian. Mm-hmm. And even after I left the faith, I still continued to research because I still was always going to be open-minded about it. I'm always willing to be proved wrong about stuff. And coincidentally, more and more, I'm always proved more and more that I don't believe there is a God. But what I did ultimately land on in all my research is that Jesus was a real person. And Jesus, he would have been a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi, and he would have been, for the time on all the research and the histories I've read on him and from the Bible itself, he was a pretty progressive person preaching love, understanding, empathy.
Hold on.
What?
I got my own hot take when you're done. Go ahead.
Well,
About Jesus being all about love and all that stuff. Anyways,
yeah, I just don't think that a lot of this stuff, like, I don't know that he would have. I don't know that Jesus himself would have approved of this. I don't think
we don't need to get into like a huge religious discussion. I
No,
just
I'm
thought
just-
it was
I
funny
just-
that the Bible says there is going to be tribulation, and I think we're in it. I think we're in that, is what I'm saying.
Okay, Dave, I want you to say your part about Jesus. I'm curious now.
so the one line in the New Testament that has always stuck with me, and again, I haven't read the Bible in years, but one thing that's always stuck with me is when Jesus said, "I bring not peace, but a sword." Right? He knew that his teachings were going to bring a lot of upheaval and violence on some level. He knew that's what that meant. So I don't buy this idea that he necessarily would have been against what's happening right now.
I wouldn't interpret it that way. And I don't think most Christians would interpret it that way either.
Well, of course, most Christians aren't going to interpret it that way. They have a vested interest in not interpreting it that way.
I think he's saying that basically by following you're putting yourself at risk by my followings from the people in power. I mean, let's just face it. He was like an outcast from the establishment, the establishment people at the time. And yeah, so I just I don't know, but
I mean, well, no, I think Jesus did know that his people were gonna be, like, what's the word I want to use?
Persecuted.
Yeah.
At risk. You know what I mean? That's what I meant by following you're following me, and I'm giving you teachings that are contrary to many of what you've been traditionally told about the Lord. And if you compare the New Testament to the Old Testament, he's right. And if you compare the drastic change in how God is perceived in the New Testament versus the vengeful and at times hateful God of the Old Testament, the fire and brimstone God, it's like two completely different deities. And that was always something I had a problem reconciling. But I think I've come to attribute a lot about that to Jesus' teachings himself. And the way I've approached it as, I don't really talk about this a lot because I've been made fun of by other atheists, but even though I don't believe in God, I don't believe the stories of the Jesus myth. I do believe he was a real person. I do believe he was preaching that kindness, tolerance, love, affection, empathy. So I've always, I'd say especially over like the last 12 to 13 years, I've tried to live my life as I thought Jesus would and be the type of person that I thought Jesus would have. And a big part of that I would attribute to Mom. So Mom used to have these discussions, and she would say, like, oh, I don't understand if you're an atheist where you get your morals. And I would say, I get them from you. Like, you tell me that you've passed on what you've learned from Christianity, but that's really you I'm learning them from. I've learned to be a good person through you. I've seen how you walk the walk, basically, right? So, like, I'm just walking the same walk without giving myself the label of being a Christian. That's the only difference.
But you're saying that you don't believe in someone that you believe existed.
I don't believe the myth. I don't believe that he was the Son of God.
So
I
you
don't
believe it's a myth.
Yes. I don't believe he's the Son of God. I don't believe that he was doing all these miracles. I believe that he was a real religious leader of the time that was extremely influential for future generations.
So our brother's a Muslim, basically.
And Dave, you're agnostic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You believe there's something. You believe in like a higher power somewhere.
I believe that there's like a divine pattern at work, like creation, whatever you want to call it. I just for my own sanity, I don't want to believe that there's a Christian God, because if everything that I've been taught when I was a kid is true, the only logical conclusion to come to is that if the Christian God is real and he created us, he does not give a rat's tin shit what happens to humanity. You only have to look at what happens in the world right now. So I don't want to live my life thinking that. So it's easier for me to just be like, okay, maybe there's something out there, but I'm not one of his.
Interesting.
I think a lot of like the founding fathers, you'll often hear people say we were founded on Christian principles and we're a Christian nation. A lot of the fathers were actually
one nation under God.
A lot of the fathers were deists. In other words, they believed there was a higher power, but they believed that once creation happened and he created us and whatever in his image, he kind of just left us to fend for ourselves. That was what a lot of them believed. Like it was like a non-interventionist God. It's interesting when you read some of the stories and the history of what a lot of people attribute to the founding of our own nation believed. But yeah, I going back to the Christian thing, the Christianity thing, like I still, like I said, regardless of the fact I don't believe in the myth, I still try to live my life as I believe someone like Jesus would have, by trying to do for others that they may not be able to do for themselves. By, like, emulating a lot of what I saw Mom do. Like, and I was having this conversation with Caitlin the other day. Like, I can tell a person's character by how they practice their faith. So, like, even though I'm not a man of faith myself, I watch people that are without a faith, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, whatever. I watch how they practice their faith and the things they believe that their faith tells them to do, and the person that their faith believes them to be. And I can tell a lot about that person's character. I think objectively, because I don't believe in God and I don't believe in it. So a lot of times I see their actions and what they do in the name of their faith. It's actually a reflection of who they are as a person. So, like, if you take Mom for example, and you think about how Mom spent, especially the last part of her life, working for the housing authority, helping the poor, doing things way above and beyond what her call of duty was. And she believed it was because that was what Jesus called her to do. But when in fact, it's just Mom was that pure of a person. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell a lot about a person by their actions and by their justifications for their actions. So Mom would justify a lot of their stuff, give the glory to the Lord. This is, how Jesus is working through me. It's like, but in my mind, and I would, she was extremely devout, and I wouldn't want to argue with her about this, but it's like, no, you're just really a good person.
She would argue with you about that.
but it's true. Like, and I can tell, and it's like I do the same thing when I come up against and I have a conversation with a Christian that's like so dead set against like gay or trans people having rights, and it's like, tell me in the Bible where Jesus mentions gay people, because I can tell you right now, I've read the Bible front to back numerous times. He never mentions them once. You have to go all the way back to the Old Testament with the God that everyone makes excuses for and don't take literally to find things about homosexuality. So when someone is vehemently against like gay people or gay rights, I say, okay, well that's your own personal biases that you're using your religion to
hide behind
and to make an excuse for your own personal biases.
I do think that happens sometimes. And
I always remember, because Mom had her own beliefs on that, but I can remember during the fight for gay marriage here in Massachusetts, and I would go to Boston with my friends to be at the State House and stand with them, and we were getting insults hurled our way. We had the Westboro Baptist Church telling us we were going to die and go to hell and God hates and stuff like that. And I can remember telling Mom like how disappointed I was, and I was like, this is why I'm not a Christian anymore. This is why I despise religion. And I remember Mom saying Jesus would have been standing with all of you. He would never have condoned that type of behavior. He would have been standing with you. That's Mom, and that's her using her Christian religion for her as her crutch for being a good person. But that was the way she saw it. I'll never forget that. So I can tell a lot about a person's character by how they perceive, receive, and practice their faith. So when I see quote unquote Christians chanting, celebrating that we're on the brink of World War III because we just bombed a few nuclear facilities that our own intel says weren't doing anything for weapons, and reports that we are killing civilians, all the while we've been supporting another country endlessly bombing innocent women and children for months on end, and I see Christians cheering that on, I have really, really, really big questions about the content of those people's character. My 2 cents. And I think people need to start looking in the mirror when they start celebrating these things.
Well, you guys know I believe in God. I believe God has a plan. I think sometimes we don't always understand the plan. And, I pray. So I've read some of Mom's journals, and she was praying for this country every day. And I get why she was. A lot of it was anxiety and stuff. But, yeah, I believe there is a God. I believe there's a plan. I believe we're all part of that plan in one way or the other. And I just all I could feel like all right now I can do is just pray for this country, because I when you feel hopeless, that's what you should do, I feel like. So that's where I'm at right now. Just praying, and praying some more, and praying for you too. And I know Auntie does too.
I do take a little bit of hope in the fact that, as much as I disagree with some of the methods that I see at like these riots, there is more of a groundswell from regular people and speaking up about the things that they see and the things that are being done in our name. You know, like this is what bothers me, is that what happened yesterday, that was done in all of our names. Like, we elected the people that, you know, whether we voted for them or not, we took part in that system. We elected people into that government, and they are the ones that made that decision. And it's like, we are a constitutional republic. So our leaders basically are doing all this heinous shit, and it does fall back on us. And that's the part that bothers me the most. So what I take hope from is that people are starting to, you know, speak out, take action. I'm not condoning throwing stuff at law enforcement or anything like that. I don't think torching federal buildings accomplishes anything.
Yeah, like, do you mean peaceful protest?
I mean, yes.
Well, hey,
I mean peaceful protest.
Can we just point out I inadvertently went through the No Kings protests because I was working for Amazon that day, and I got caught up in like an hour of being stuck in the midst of a peaceful protest in Rhode Island. And, you know, so my own personal, it was extremely peaceful. And there was Trump supporters harassing them, and they just waved and smiled, and they did not take any of the bait. And by and large, from what I saw,
it's called self-control.
By and large,
Like,
what I saw I mean, we're talking 3 million people around the country protesting all the same day. No serious reports of any violence. It was extremely peaceful. So that does give me hope that we can peacefully protest and make a difference, and our rights aren't completely gone yet. We have to be careful and be aware and be conscious when those rights do start getting taken away. But, you know, we'll see if YouTube censors this and Spotify censor this very podcast because of things we discussed today.
I was telling Hawaii yesterday, I'm like, we're going to talk about this at the podcast, and your husband might have like government agents busting down his door and taking him in. But I think it's pretty telling. She's seriously worried about that happening over here. Like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, we had a conversation where, you know, and I've just, with the whole immigration thing happening, I've been hesitant to have her come even visit because I don't want her to be
have
detained.
her stay in Vietnam.
But now, you know, what she told me is, she's like, I really don't know that I want to go to a country that has so much political instability. And that's exactly what we have right now. I mean,
can you believe
there is a certain, I mean,
can you ever believe that we would be the country that people would view as politically unstable? It's infuriating.
Here we are.
To me. It's infuriating.
Here we are.
We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. We're supposed to be. And I've believed for most of my life that we are the absolute greatest country in the world. And here we are being judged by the rest of the world. We're probably going to be abandoned by many of the people that we've considered our allies for years. I mean, we're going to be in this alone. It's going to be us and Israel and nobody else, because no one else wants to take part in this. We're going to be on our own. And yeah, it's just incredibly upsetting to think about. You know what
was surprising to me, because I read some of the reactions from other nations, the countries that you would expect, like Venezuela, were very like condemning what we did. A lot of other countries were very, I thought, neutral in their response. Like, I thought there would be a lot more condemnation, like from places like France or Australia or whatever, like, you know, like Canada, like more strongly worded condemnation of like us bombing Iran. And I did not see that, which was interesting to me.
Well, we'll see what this week brings.
Yeah, I mean, it's
literally, you know,
every day is something new.
But I never thought I'd see the day where, you know, our government is threatening to, you know, take Greenland by force or take the Panama Canal by force, and, you know, basically take what has been a really intricate relationship with both Canada and Mexico, not just Canada, but Mexico too, and just completely sever those ties for all intents and purposes. I never thought I'd live to see that day. Because like it or not, like I'm not a globalist, but the fact is like our economies, our cultures, our way of life is like very closely tied and interwoven with our allies in a lot of ways.
You need to have valuable, strong diplomatic ties to other countries.
Yes.
You have to be a stable nation. And like literally we're turning ourselves into the likes of like a North Korea, basically, where we're going to be the outcast from the countries that we used to be friends with. It's upsetting, really. I can't believe we're in this position. I can't even believe we're having this conversation. This is not the way I envisioned this conversation going today when we talked about it last week. You know, and I can imagine there's going to be some of our listeners that listen every week that aren't going to be happy with some of the takes that we've had. And some may agree, but I just... You know, I'm not going to lie and pretend to be something I'm not. And I know that you two aren't going to lie and pretend to be all happy and thrilled about what's going on right now.
Yeah, no, I just think we have to remember our day-to-day, too, you know? Like I always say, we got to take care of our community, our neighbors, our friends, our family. And like, I don't want to be so anxious that I can't enjoy the life that we currently have, you know what I mean? But it's not to say that I'm not like aware of what's going on, but I think if you only can control what you can control, and there's really some things right now that we just can't. And so I think we just have to take care of each other. I know that's like really corny and cheesy, but I think it's important for people to hear that. And it's important for me to hear it myself. Like I have to... Like last night when I went to bed, I was like, just go to bed. That's what I can control right now. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to watch a little Office before I go to bed. And like just little things like that. Whatever brings you joy, you have to find it now.
I just got hammered. That's how I handled it.
That's why you're so tired today.
I'm serious. I was like, you know what? There's a 7-Eleven right up the street. I just went... I got myself a few 9%er IPAs, and I just downed them.
You said Pete Hegseth ordered Operation Warhammer. I'm getting hammered.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, you know what? I'll just numb myself up and listen to some tunes, and that's not. I don't recommend that.
I was just gonna say that's not probably the healthiest way to cope with it.
It's not the healthiest way, but you know what? It got me through those moments.
Yeah.
So.
You are definitely our father's son. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. So, what are we talking about next week? I'm wrapping it up. We can't go on. We could go on all day. But what are we talking about next week? It's your week next week.
Special announcement for SIBREV. We're going to be taking off the month of July.
Yes.
I am pondering, as a fill-in for the month that we're taking off, maybe taking some footage on me and Caitlin and the boys' little family vacation and splicing it up into separate little travel vlogs to do as a stand-in for the podcast while we're away for the month of July. But as far as July goes, the three of us have some very... important things going on. We have a wedding.
Yeah.
David's going to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Caitlin and I, and they're taking the kids on vacation. So we have a very busy July. It's not going to be ideal for having podcasts every week. So we're going to take July off and come back first thing in August. Next week will be our last episode for about a month, and we will advise the internet. So hopefully it'll be a little more.
Nice.
It'll be a little more lighthearted.
Love those ones.
I've already seen some good stories I wanna pull up.
Oh,
Can't wait for you guys to react.
Okay, good. I love advise the internet. Let's laugh. Let's laugh.
So hopefully next episode we won't feel so down. Hopefully I am completely wrong and we will not be in the midst of World War III. And I just everyone stay safe. Be aware, be conscious of things around you. I mean, I think we're going back to a time of high threat, high awareness like we were post 9/11. So just be conscious of things around you and stay safe. That's all I can say. I love you guys.
We love you too.
We love you
too.
guys listening and watching. We hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.